Hey, sixth grade. Today we are going to draw our James Rizzi cities. If you did not do yesterday's assignment, it's A-okay, but you'll need those images to help you with today. So open up the Google Slides from yesterday. Look at the artwork of James Rizzi. Read about his life, read about some of his art ideas to help you with your drawing for today. Yesterday's assignment was to create a poem based on Rizzi's work, particularly his cities. Please go ahead and take a few minutes to do that today if you were unable to do that yesterday. I'd love to put those poems together so we can read each other's work. I'll give you feedback about that this morning. Okay. If we were in the art room at West Nairobi School, our Rizzi City artworks may have looked something like this. And we would have done a crayon drawing and then added watercolor to create a watercolor resist. And so, being that we have limited resources at home, we're going to just do it as a drawing and add color to it. So for today, you need a piece of paper and a pencil, maybe a rubber eraser as well. For tomorrow, you're going to need some things that you can use to add color to it. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow. So let me give you a few suggestions to help you get started on your city. And I'm going to draw in Sharpie so you can see. Let me bring this back and we'll just talk about this. One of the things that happens in Rizzi's cities is that some buildings are in the front and there's space in between them so we can see the buildings that are a little bit farther away. And then way in the back, we have parts of buildings. So what you're going to need to decide today is how many buildings, the size of them, what time of day, if it's daytime or nighttime or both. And we show that by our celestial objects, the sun, the moon, the stars, as well as the color. You can decide to do faces or not. You also want to think about the windows. Okay? If you're going to do faces, you would want to draw those first, then put the windows around them. All right, let's jump over to this paper. And if you notice, it's a skinnier rectangle, so I removed part of the top just to help with the composition. Composition, this is a great art vocabulary word. It means the arrangements of the parts in the space. So when you have a music composition, it's which instruments are playing, what notes are they playing, how long are those notes, how the notes work together. When you do a composition in English, it's what words you're using, what are your ideas, how are you creating sentences and putting those sentences together to make the whole. And so in art, when we think about a composition, we think about the arrangement of the pieces. It has to do with size and placement and quantity, whether there's a lot of background or no background. So you're going to work on that composition, the arrangement of the parts today. In starting, I'm going to draw the buildings that are in the front first. And I'm going to leave some space in between them. And I'm going to start with simple rectangles. And on this size paper, I'm going to fit 4. Put a smaller one here. You can also see that I've left a little bit of room at the bottom. This could be for a street, but it will just also help it to look like I can go into the artwork a little bit more than having the buildings touch the very bottom edge. So just this little bit of white space at the bottom certainly helps. Okay, now let me draw the buildings in the next layer behind it. And I don't have to go all the way across. I'm going to start in this space, start a little higher. And the building looks like it's behind the other one. One of the reasons is because of where I've started. They don't line up evenly. I'd like to encourage you to have a dynamic skyline. The skyline is the edge of the buildings at the top. Don't have them all be the same height. Have some be taller. I'm going to add some architectural details to this building in just a minute. I'll add a few more. But when I was drawing that one edge, it sort of seemed a little strange, so I fixed it. Here we go. I'm going to put a building here. This one is just completely behind this one. Here's another, oh, here's the bottom of that building. I almost forgot. Here's another building back here. This one's really far away, so it's going to be pretty skinny. And this also helps my skyline be dynamic because it goes up and down. It's not straight across. So I have some room over here. I'm going to put one more building. I'm going to make this one with like a pointed roof. And so here are my buildings. The next thing I'm going to add is some architectural details and some windows. Notice that I have room in my sky for objects. Let's see. So sometimes these architectural details are just separators. We'll put the windows in between. Again, if you want to include faces, you're going to leave some room for those. Here's another little detail, a little chimney on the top. Something else on the top of this one. I'm just giving you an example. Your city needs to look different. Okay, so we're not copying. We're using someone else's ideas. I'm using James Rizzi's. You're going to use James Rizzi's. You can use mine as well. Okay, then I'm going to start in with the windows. There's just an example of one. Let me put a face on this one and then show you how I can add the windows behind it or around it. So it's just a simple little face in here. Whoops, let me let you see that. Then I can add some long windows next to it. James Rizzi uses lots of different window shapes. Sometimes they're really square, sometimes they're divided. And you can understand that I would add windows to everything. All right, for my moon in the sky, because this side's going to be nighttime, put a little star in there. This side's going to be, the sun is going to be rising behind these buildings because I don't feel like I have room for a whole sun. So there I just sort of tucked it like the sun's going down. I can go ahead and add some little sun rays. Maybe I'll put a cloud over here because I have some room. Maybe another star over here. Okay, go ahead and create a James Rizzi drawing. If you're just using pencil, before you take a photo of it, trace those lines a little bit darker so that I can see your details. We've created a foreground with the buildings in the front, as well as a middle and a background, which is another art idea that we can think about with our Rizzi cities. Okay. Can't wait to see your drawings.